Hi, my name is Julia Schank, and I'm going to be interviewing Nicole on the stance of the obesity epidemic in America today. So, Nicole, I have a question for you. What
Mhm.
is your stance on the obesity epidemic in America?
Well, thinking about that question, I've come to realize that, now it is definitely, people are definitely more body positivity,
Yeah,
which can definitely be a good thing in some ways, 100%. But, more people talking about, their, eating disorders and whatnot is definitely more positive, I think. But I think it gets taken to a point where, some people are too positive
yeah,
that it may be unhealthy to actually be, overweight and obese, where it is affecting their heart and whatnot and other bodies or other functions in their body, and where it will, decrease their life expectancy. And starting that at, a very young age with kids now, I've noticed that they're becoming more, more kids are becoming more in that category of obese because of the technology nowadays, the iPads, the iPhones, and, their parents getting those for them at so young. And the parents might be working where they're not able to take them to the park and whatnot. But I definitely think that social media has had an influence, where people are staying inside watching TV instead of going outside and playing with their friends. And I know when my parents were growing up and whatnot, that the ideal body type was very thin and whatnot, and it was almost unheard of in a way to be overweight, and for even kids to be at that age overweight, because they didn't have the technology that we do nowadays. So their only option when having fun was to go outside, to go play with their friends and be active. And so I definitely think it has become a problem. And especially since COVID, a lot of us were not allowed to leave our house and whatnot. So a lot of people, ate for fun, which, I did a little bit. And so stayed
absolutely.
inside. And so I definitely think it has become a bigger issue compared to 10 to even 20 years ago, just with, the society changing and whatnot. So I definitely think there has been some positive, where people been talking about it more and, being positive about it and, finding ways to help each other. But I think it can get taken a little bit too far where it's definitely unhealthy for them.
I think that's fantastic. I love that you said about how people are maybe taking it too far. What do you personally feel would be taking it too far? Because, like you said, body positivity is so important.
Mhm.
But when does it become an unhealthy level to you?
I think it becomes an unhealthy level when, you're not maybe taking it like, your like health seriously, and not doing anything to even change it. I know sometimes people may get into a funk and they don't want to, but if you're going to the doctors and, they're very worried about, your health, like maybe it's affecting your heart and your breathing, that can definitely become a big issue because your life expectancy, excuse me, will become shorter. And what if you do have a family? That's less time with kids, less time with friends and family. So I definitely think it can become a bigger issue when there's things that you used to do that you can't do anymore. Just like a simple walk in the park that you're out of breath after 5 minutes. And so I definitely think having friends and family to support you and to, cheer you on is definitely can help you get out of it. So,
I think that's fantastic. I really love that you brought up that they're not thinking ahead enough, that
mhm,
it's almost like they're thinking too much in the moment of being positive where you are right now, which is important.
mhm,
You're doing things today that make it so that you may not be here tomorrow.
mhm,
That's not the healthiest thing. I loved how you said that. So today's children are the first in the history of the world to be projected to live shorter lives than their parents, and that's all due to the rise of obesity.
mhm,
And so you said earlier about parents not being able to be there with their kids, take them to the park and things like that. But
mhm,
on What all do you think parents need to do, especially to stop this rise in obesity in their children?
I think the first thing is definitely making sure that the kids are eating right. Eating healthy is super important. I know growing up, sometimes my parents would, make dinner and certain foods I was not a fan of, but it was, protein, vegetables that I wasn't a fan of, but it was good for me. And
Yeah.
so I definitely think eating healthy is, making sure your kids are is a right path because you want to make sure that they continue eating healthy. Starting at a very young age so that they continue that into becoming older and once they go off on their own, whether it's college or just growing up. And so I think eating healthy is definitely one of the big things, and the second would definitely be limiting their technology use. You know, um, 100%. I know parents get busy and, they don't want their kids to go to the park, by themselves and whatnot. But I think making that time to just make them go on a walk with them or making sure they get that, hour, 45 minutes of exercise really does make a difference. And so I think limiting technology and even them playing in the backyard or whatnot can definitely make a big difference. So I think those are, two ways to help, the rise of obesity to go down. And so that, the kids nowadays can, expect to live as long as their parents or even longer if, those changes are made.
Yeah, absolutely. When I read that statistic at first, I was like, wait, aren't we living in like the most advanced
Mm-hmm.
part of in the world, and yet their life expectancy is shorter? I think those ideas are perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for saying those. So, what core values do you have that kind of really make you feel these ways about the American epidemic of obesity?
Well, the first one is, being very compassionate. I do plan to go into the healthcare field as a nurse, and my priority is to help those and make sure, people are on the right track. Whether it's kids or older people, variety of age groups that are on the right track to be healthy and to continue their life, as long as they can. And so I definitely think being compassionate as well just because you never know what people are going through. They may put on a brave face when they go out, but their life at home could be way different, or their whatnot. So I think definitely being compassionate and having that you know compassion for one another is a big thing. My second one would definitely be perseverance. Sometimes you can go through hard times, but it's the main thing is not giving up. You get knocked down, which I think not everything going your way is good because you learn lessons and so much. So I definitely think having perseverance, to get through those hard times to reach your goal is super important, and it teaches you so many life lessons. So I think that would be my second one. And then my last one would be definitely having like being supportive or having that support from one another. I know I definitely would not be able to get through parts of my life without my parents or my friends or my family. So definitely having that support to, cheer you on and tell you you're doing a good job and, to be there for you. And so I definitely think those are, some of my core values that I would have, especially in this situation with, the obesity as well.
I think that's fantastic. Thank you so much. So, you're going to be a nurse someday, which I think is absolutely incredible. And so, my last question for you is that a common term that they throw around in the media a lot, or even in the healthcare system, is that Americans are eating themselves to death.
Mhm.
And so, do you think this is accurate? Why or why not?
I do think it may be accurate in some ways. Not everything applies to everyone, but I know during, at least COVID, a lot of people were stuck at home. And so, a lot of people did gain weight because they would just sit at home and eat because there was nothing else to do, especially if they may have lived in, apartment complexes, walking around or going to exercise was, they weren't able to. And so I do think um, people are some people are eating themselves to death because I know compared to, other countries and whatnot, like the portion sizes in the US are definitely way bigger compared to, other countries. And so people get used to that and people think they have to eat all of their food on their plate and they stuff themselves of, whatever they're eating. And am guilty of that, have done that a couple times. And
Aren't we
so
all?
100%. So I do think in some cases, yes, people are, but it just, depends on, I think, growing up in your situation of people, eating themselves. But I think having the right, proper nutrition and knowing the portion sizes of what you should eat starting very young, with your parents teaching you that definitely will help you help one another, realize that, oh, I'm full, I should stop now. And, this is the right amount of food so that I'm not overeating and I'm not under eating. So I do think in some cases, yes, half and half, it is accurate. So,
I think that's awesome. I really liked what you said about like noticing when you're full. And I think honestly, wouldn't you think if everyone just stopped when they were full, we'd be a little better off, maybe?
mhm,
Oh,
yes.
well, thank you so much for talking to me about this. Your insights were amazing, and I hope you have a great day.
Yes. Thank you so much.